Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this new ForoCompetencia breakfast event. We have the honor today of having the president of CADE, Alex Cordeiro, who has the record of being been commissioner, president, and superintendent of CADE, and to be nominated by to be appointed by 3 different presidents of Brazil, which speaks very highly about Alex. He will be speaking today about international cooperation in cartel cases. He will provide the Brazilian experience, which has been quite active in these past years. So without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you very much for having me here. I want to say hi to friends, good friends that I can see here. Mariana Tavares, Paulo, Pablo. I'm not going to say the name of everybody because, you know, I probably will miss some, and I don't want to be unfair, but it's a pleasure to be here. I know that the audience is very eclectic as well. There's a lot of people from different countries and people that are like working in competition and others that are not. But I prepared some presentation as well to talk general things about international cooperation. I will speak around 20 minutes, and after that, I will leave for the questions, and I'll be here to respond to anything that you want. Even things that is not about international cooperation and cartels, but I'm here to try to answer everything that you want. So let me try to share here my screen. Can you see?
Yes.
Can you see this? Yes. I'm just trying to. Here you go. Okay, now it's good. Can you see the full screen?
Tá no modo apresentação, Alexandre, mas está dando para ver.
Tá no modo apresentação, mas está dando para ver. Okay, let me see if I can change this.
Se você for lá exibir configurações, você coloca retirar do modo também é isso aí mesmo.
Aqui.
Sorry guys, just a technical support here.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo. Okay, let's go. It's just an overview to start our conversation. I know that many of you might know what I'm going to speak right now because I see like Ricardo, Paulo, Julian, and also Mariana here that is showing the screen here for me. So they know all those things that I'm going to say, but I will start to talk about the role of the Brazilian competition law and also CADE's duty. So we have 3 different roles to play in this game. So the first one is the preventive duty, which grants the authority powers to analyze and also decide on merger and acquisitions. And this also we call the structural control. We have the advocacy duty or the educative duty. It's associated with advocacy initiatives, and also we do here inside of CADE using the Department of Economics. We have released around 13 or 14 already papers and studies of different markets, and this helps when we are like doing some relationship with the sector regulators, help us to build the law, how they're going to regulate in order to combine with our competition aspects. And also we have, I'll just go back a little bit. I'm going to still talking about advocacy. We are now improving our relationship with the Congress right now as well. So we have some bills in Congress that we must follow very closely because it's very important, specifically for our lenience program. It's kind of changed the structure of the incentives of our program, because we're trying to apply the double damage for those guys that are not collaborating with CADE. So this is an important bill, and we keep also going in the public audience in Congress to talk about competition and show what CADE is doing. The third is the repressive duty. It means that is our conduct cases, and for the first duty, it's merger and acquisitions duty. We do have around 500 merger and acquisition cases for last year, and this year we are expecting around 650 or kind of 70. We had an increase of 33% in the first semester, and just in July we had 100 cases of merger and acquisitions, and we're expecting this number grows a lot until December. For the repressive duty, we have around 350 cases per year. It means cartels and also unilateral conduct. And we had, since like past 4 years, we are, pay attention more in unilateral conduct than in cartel, but it doesn't mean that we're, not watching or not fighting cartels anymore, just because cartels was always the priority here in CADE, and we decided to take a look more closely about unilateral conduct. So this is just a little bit of the structure. I want to show this slide because it brings the general superintendents. Sometimes people do not understand what is the general superintendent in CADE, because the name might get us confused a little bit. So inside of CADE, you have two different institutions, tribunal and the general superintendent. Tribunal and general superintendent are completely different. General superintendent is not linked to the tribunal. They have different roles. So it's like general superintendent was the first instance. Everything that get in CADE passed through general superintendent, and has the role to sign and negotiate the lenience agreements, to start the investigation, to do the down raids, to build the cases, and also judge or give an opinion, and the case can go to the tribunal or not, depends which case we're talking about. And when ones go to the tribunal is formed by 7 commissioners, actually 6 commissioners in 1 president. And all those commissioners and the president and also the general superintendent are appointed by the president, and they have the term, the commissioners and the president, the term for 4 years, and the general superintendent for 2 years, but can be reappointed once. And all those guys also have to be confirmed at the Senate. And this is the structure of general superintendent. We have the deputy general superintendent 1 and deputy general superintendent 2. And the yellow part is merger and acquisitions and unilateral conduct units. And the orange ones is the cartel units. So, and also inside of the cartel unit, we have one of those that is the unit of lenience, and the other one, the unit of intelligence, that the brain project stay in one of these units. So CADE competence of international cartels investigation, and here is important to say, when we're talking about international cartels investigation, we are talking about the competence of CADE, and this we will find in the Article 2 of the Brazilian competition law. And it says that it doesn't matter if the conduct or the practice occur inside of the Brazilian territory, or even if the practice occur outside but produce or may produce effects in Brazil, CADE has the competence to process. And it means that if the cartel it happens in whatever Asia, but they export the product to Brazil, so Brazil has the competence to process and also act in these cases. There is a discussion, the extension of this, the competence of CADE and the jurisdiction. And this extension is, imagine if two companies not export the product that was part of the cartel, but the cartel was about a component that export to another country, and this country use this component to build another product, and this product goes to Brazil. So, and there is the discussion about direct effect and indirect effect, and this we start to get in the discussion of per se and rule of reason. So the investigative tools and techniques we do here at CADE, in CADE we do a down raid. We need a judiciary authorization to do that. We cannot do by ourselves, but we don't need the federal prosecutors. We can go to the judiciary, ask for a warrant, and come back with the warrant and do the down raid. We have the hearings and testimonies. We can convoke, we can ask for anyone, even if it's public authority, private authority, we can ask to come to CADE because we wanna listen them. Also, we can require any documents that we want, and they have the obligation to give to us. Otherwise, they can, incur in fines, and these fines can be high. So agreements, leniency agreements, and cease and desist agreements for cartel cases as well. So this is important because all those leniency agreements and cease and desist agreements, it's a kind of collaboration agreement. But the difference between the first one and the second one is the structure of incentives. The first one, we have the criminal immunity, for example. In the second one, we don't have the criminal immunity. The first one, the administrative immunity, and the second one, just 50%, up to 50% of discount. The first one we do with the first two people that got in CADE asking for the marker, and the rest, the second one is doing for the second, the third, and fourth, and goes on. And also have the screening tests in our brain project. That is a screening test, economic test using IT and a huge data of public procurement in order to trying to find evidence of collusion that we can, bring a case. We are being very succeed on this kind of experience because we actually have some case that some judge also gave to us a warrant to do a down raid just using the economic tools and economic evidence. So this is some data. And about international cartels for the past years, you can see that we have 4 international cartels that was brought to CADE, and the orange line is about those cases that came by lenience. So you can have in 2018 here, it's a wrong data, it's 2 cases as well. So the blue bar is the cases that we brought, and the yellow one is brought by lenience. So if you see in 2012, we have 4 cases and 3 was lenience, and the rest matches the lenience and international cartels, the number of international cartels. Which means that when we're talking about international cartels, we are very dependent on lenience. This doesn't happen with national cartels, because we have another tools, another way to do our investigation, as we showed in this slide before. Kind of 60%, 1/3 is just lenience, 1/3 is proactive and lenience investigations, and the other 1/3 is just proactive tools and investigation. This is about national cartels. Here is some also the number of agreements and the money that we recover and we put in our actually pocket, in the government pocket. Was 2016 we had an explosion of cease and desist agreement, 22, and the money was around 350 million reais. And see that in 2019, 2020, and 2021, we didn't did much. I think that 2020 was because of the pandemic, and until now we still in a very lower number, and we think that is because we don't see much lenience happen internationally, and this can be a problem. The last graphics is about the fine, the cases judged, and also the convictions. Look at this. We had, for example, in 2016, 9 cases with 50 million reais in fines, and we convicted 5 companies. And this is the graphic. You can see that in 2021, this year, we convicted already 2 companies, and the total of the fine was 125, something like that, and we judged 6 cases. So what we can find, I just told you, we had a decreased number of lenience for the past years, and I think that this is affecting CADE's cases here, and we don't see many lenience happen right now. So a lot of cases we're not. I think that not coming to Brazil, or I don't know what's going on. Probably it's because the decline of the number of lenience around the globe. So the importance of international cooperation is also a channel for notifying individuals and legal entities under investigation. It's very important. Sometimes we have a lot of companies outside of the country that not exactly is operating in Brazil. So an international cooperation helps us to notify those individuals and also the companies, provide the relevant information as well and evidence for uncompetitive practice, and also significant technical exchange between CADE teams and other agencies. And I think that because of the globalization and also because of the importance of the digital market, the exchange of information between agents, it's getting more importance, and also the exchange of techniques and how to investigate and who investigate, and this can be international cooperation is getting more importance in the antitrust agents, I think. CADE has experienced different degrees of cooperation. International notification of individuals and legal entities is also a problem. Sometimes the procedure to do that take long time, and when we have international cooperation very close, and when I say very close, it's not just a MOU signed, but also you have to know people the other side of the border, and know people means pick up the phone, and talk to the guys and say, hey, here is this whatever from CADE, and I need you for that. Can you do that? So to have a waiver you don't, so help us here, and we can do like also down rates together, and also happen in cases in Brazil already, and with FTC, and actually with DOJ, and also Europe. One case, it's an important case. I have this example in the next slide. But when we're talking international cooperation, and also all the problems that we have to bring the company inside of the case, when we have a partner and across the border and a very strong international cooperation, we can do this easily. So that's it. International service like summons, down rates, and this is the compressor case that I just told you, was a simultaneous down rate in Brazil, and in US and Europe. It was happening in 2009. Was a cooperation between CADE, DOJ, and DGCOMP. Technical cooperation, the tools and to investigate this exchange is very important, and also information exchange when you have waivers. The timeline of convenience of international cooperation also important to start. As soon as we start international cooperation, help us also to get more evidence and to also go to the right way and have a more strong case. Enablers of international cooperation, permanent communication between agents, and this kind of ForoCompetencia is important because we see people from the other agents, they get to know us. International forums, events such as ICN or ECT help us also improve our techniques and be in touch with other agencies. So some challenge. Legal obstacles is a huge challenge. The law is completely different in different jurisdictions. So things that we can do here probably not is the same in Argentina, is not the same in Colombia, is not the same in the United States. And sometimes this show us a very difficult to get information because we have our legal limits, and also language barriers. It's very hard to do international cooperation between countries because of the language. This is a huge barriers, and we can find very a lot of agents that need translations, and not everybody inside of the agents also speak English or speak the language of the other jurisdiction that we're trying to cooperate. So this can be a problem as well. So I will stay here. I think that I just gave to you a general point of view about international cartels, how CADE is is working with that, and also international cooperation about cartels. So I will live here and stay for the questions. And one more time, thank you very much for having me here.
Great. Thank you, Alex. I'll start with a few questions. You mentioned that you have had a reduction of cases in recent years. While you had the peak of cases, with which jurisdictions you were most in contact? Basically, you mentioned in one case Europe and the US. The question is, do you have also communication with other agencies in particular cases, and what about cooperation with Latin American agencies? Have you had any experience with any Latin American agency in recent years?
Yes, we do have a lot of experience with Latin American agencies, as Peru, Colombia, also Argentina, Mexico, and also I just give the example about United States and Europe, but the GFK is also part of our international cooperation very closely. Many of the international cartels is auto parts manufacturing, and many of those is in the Japan. Also Korean, because of the BRICS, we are very close to China, Russia, India, South Africa, and in Russia, we had some very important cooperation in merger and acquisitions, not so much in cartels, but in merger and acquisitions was very closely for the past years. And yes, I mean, when we're talking about international companies, they are all around. So, and also we don't focus just in the big jurisdictions. Because for our experience, we can see that many jurisdictions has different kind of cooperation with us, and we can get evidence or new techniques from everybody. We don't stay just focused in one jurisdiction or two. If they have cases that is in our in our way, and we see that can we take advantage of that, we pick up the phone and call them.
And have you been approached by Latin American agencies in cartel cases?
Yes. You have been, the same. It's the same way. Two ways. We go there and they come here, and we have been approached by some agents as well.
Pablo, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Julian. Thanks for the presentation, Alex. You mentioned the BRAIN project. I remember you were starting with the BRAIN project a couple of years ago, and you said that you've had a lot of data right now. Two questions. One, is that only a software, or is that a complex software? With that question related, if you have had a chance of exporting maybe that software or the BRAIN project abroad to any other jurisdiction in Latin America, for example. And my second question is, what has been the interaction with the public bodies in Brazil? I mean, the ministries, or you mentioned also public procurement. How have you been received by those public officials during your BRAIN project activities?
Thank you, Pablo. Nice to see you, my friend, again. So yes, the BRAIN project is about people, data, and software. We have good people here, IT guys, engineers that are working full-time on the BRAIN project, and also have a huge amount of data about public procurement. For example, for the past 15 years, we have all companies that was part of any Brazilian public procurement, and we have all the bids, the value, the partners, the associates of the company, who give the bid for each product. We have the format of the proposal. We know which IP it came from, which computer it came from, the location. I mean, it's a lot of, and also we have the former partners. There's a lot of data that we put together. And when we have the secret and of the success of that is the data. When we have this strong data, we can have also a strong software that give us an output. And for sure, this is not a proof. This is just an evidence. It's just a starting point to get deeper in the investigation, trying to do a down raid, or do more screening tests, or call people and invite people to come in CADE and talk about what we are seeing. And also this helps us the strategy of lenience program as well, because when we start to do a proactive investigation and the people see that you might get in close of the guys that are doing cartels, probably they're going to come to CADE and say, okay, I want to be the first one. I don't want to be the second one to talk. So, and this one thing helps the other. And also, I think that the second question was the relationship about the public officials in Brazil. Is that correct, Pablo? Yeah. CADE, there is a very strong and tight relation with public officials, and also not just the public officials, but also the private sector as well. CADE is a very transparent agency and also an open agency for the society. We don't think that stay here in our gap, studying economics and tools will bring us better results. We have to talk to the people, we have to talk to the Congress, we have to talk to the government, we have to talk to the private sector to trying to in any case diminish the asymmetry of information and also give them a better decision. Because when this gives us more and better relationship with the people also that have the power in their area. For example, if you need to change a law, we have to have a very good relationship with the Congress. And this doesn't mix the independence of CADE. So, and this is important because everybody here, as I told you, like the commissioners, the president, and also the general superintendent, has a term, 4 years, and they're going to stay here. And as you see, usually we cross governments, we cross presidents, and this is I am a real example of that. As Julian, I told you at the beginning, was appointed by 3 different presidents for the past 7 years.
Paulo.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, are we allowed to ask questions in Portuguese, Julian, or?
Of course.
Or Portuñol? I'll formulate it in English, but of course, my desire would be to have this conversation in Portuguese with Alexandre. First, congratulations for your presentation. It's very, very clear. It's a pleasure to see you again, Alexandre. I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit of your feeling concerning one element that you mentioned during your presentation, which is the decrease of the number of the leniency applications around the world. You mentioned OECD publication from this year, the OECD competition trends, that shows that the number of leniencies have been decreasing around the world. But I was wondering if you can expand a little bit based on your experience. What do you think is happening? Is it because there's no more cartels around the world? Is it because maybe it's related to the damage claims policy that might be influencing the incentives to apply for leniency? Other factors? Do you have any guess?
Thank you, Paulo. Nice to see you, my friend. I think that it's a little bit of everything. So I think that's a little bit of lack of incentive in some jurisdiction. Look, if every jurisdiction have a strong program, it helps everybody. So, and you'll see a strong program in every jurisdiction, because we are talking about international cartels. So if we're talking about international cartels, the lenience program in South Africa is important to Brazil, because there's a lot of companies in South Africa doing business in Brazil. So, and they export things to Brazil and they find a cartel over there, it's my interest to process the case here in Brazil. So that is one thing that the international antitrust community could help to help other jurisdictions to have also a strong lenience programs. And when I say strong lenience programs, is about incentives to sign the lenience, good incentives to come to the public sector, preserve the golden rule, and also raise the private enforcement, but balance with the public enforcement. The private enforcement and the public enforcement, they don't have to be a separate thing. It's the opposite. They have to work together, and the private enforcement, they have to help the public enforcement in order to balance who is collaborating with the administration and who is not collaborating with the administration. The other thing is, if you look the Brazilian picture, you can see in 2015, 16, an explosion of lenience. And this was part of because of Lava Jato cases, and also because of the effect of the new law that took place in 2012. And there was a space for the accommodation of the law in the first 3 years, and after that, everybody's trusting in the program, and everybody come to CADE, okay, let's do lenience. And it's normal also when we have a huge number of cases, later you go down a little bit, and it's like a pendulum. You say pendulum in English? I don't know, maybe. It's like a pendulum. And one, sometime you were in this side, and the other side, and the other time is you were going to the other side. I think that this is also, it also can be a normal or maybe it's the way that this will happen in the world. So a lot of lenience was coming in the past 5 years, and now people step back and see, okay, let's see what's going on. And this, I think, that is also may happen. The third, I think that we don't see much more proactive investigations around. The markets are changing. The people are getting new tools and smart tools. We don't send emails to do cartels anymore. So the people use machines learning to do cartels, algorithms. And this is hard to get the cartels, and the people feel it. when they feel that, okay, they are very far away to catch me. They're not getting close. If they're not getting close, what is my incentive to go there at the agency and say, okay, I did a cartel? You don't have much incentive for that if you were not, getting close to them. So I don't. But at the end, I don't think that we have less cartels. They are not doing cartels anymore. I just think that the world is changing, the tools is changing, and we have to follow them and trying to find more techniques to investigate and also give the incentive to people come inside of the agents and sign the agreements.
Okay, thanks a lot. We can see that Gary Becker is always helping us to answer the incentive. Yeah. Thanks. I know you like you enjoy it. Thanks, Julian. Thank you, Alexandre, for expanding on this.
A pleasure. Mariana.
Thank you, Julian. I'd also like to follow Paulo in congratulating you, Alexandre. This is a great presentation, very good overview of the program and of CADE generally. Since you said you would be willing to talk about other subjects as well, I'd like to change tracks a little bit to talk about compliance. CADE has been one of the lead authorities in Brazil to disseminate compliance culture through rules, case law, regulations, and this has evolved considerably since 2004 when Resolution 14 was issued, but in particular over the past 5 years. When CADE issued its compliance guidelines, and thanks to you and Paulo as well, and to those that haven't had the chance to review this, I would encourage you. CADE has an English version of the compliance guidelines, which is a great document. And it's also an indication of how the agency is aware that ensuring legal certainty and transparency is a work in progress, and that there's always room for improvement. I'm a big fan of 2006 of how the tribunal approaches compliance guidelines. There are, I believe, at least 10 cases in which CADE granted discounts from 2 to 4% for companies for having effective compliance programs after the compliance guidelines were issued. And my question is, how CADE, and just one more comment, CADE last year put under public consultation draft guidelines on fines for cartel cases. Final version has not been made public yet. And my question is whether it would make sense for the guidelines to also discuss how CADE will consider the effectiveness of the compliance program and how it will grant these discounts. So this is the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. Nice to see you. That's a very good question. I mean, compliance is about shared responsibility of investigation. This is about compliance. So when you say to some company, okay, you have to have a compliance structure, we are telling them, come here and help us to investigate you. I want to see you transparent, and also I give you more responsibility. And this responsibility is we give to them with incentive. We have here a discount, but also we raise your responsibility, because if you don't follow what we are saying right now, your responsibility is going to be more strong, and maybe the consequence will be very bad for you. And this is what happening in CADE and also CGU and other institutions in Brazil. And we don't have exactly how and how much will be the discount and about the fine if they'll have compliance. is different from the our FCPI law here. They have a decree that they give you up to 4% of discount when they have a compliance program, and actually is the strongest and the biggest discount of the fine when we're talking about CGU, the General Control Office, and corruption cases. Here in Brazil, we leave it kind of open and kind of we give like 4%, 3%, or 2%. It depends. We don't think that we have to be very, specific about the number of the discount, but leave it open, because also we will have different programs in companies. And also, what I'm saying is, different programs means different responsibility and different costs for the company. And we have to work with that. Ask for some company, build a compliance structure, means that I'm giving them some cost. And depending what I want, independent of the company, the cost can be high. And I can also cause some problem for the company, depending on how is its operation. And we are very careful about that. But I think that it's one of the most important instruments that we have here in Brazil to trying to bring the company to the right side. But we are more concerned about how the compliance program is structured than, actually more concerned about how the company thinks about their responsibility and and comply the law, and if it's a tone from the top, coming from the top to comply and doing a lot of correct things, then give us just a very big and beautiful structure of compliance. We want to see, when we're investigating a compliance structure, one of the most important things that we look for it, and how is the compromise that the company have with his program. If really a through program, or is just a fake program. If it is a fake thing, it can bring the company to the other side, so it could be a benefit. But if it's a fake, we can see the intention of the company to use one benefit to also cause more harm. And this can be very bad here inside of CADE, for the image also, and the consequences for the company.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Barbara?
Thank you very much, Julian. Hi, Alexandre. Very good presentation as well. Great to see you all here. I wanted to go back, Alexandre, to the point that Paulo mentioned, and maybe for you to share a little bit with us the recent initiative from CADE of allowing parties to receive digitally leniency applications, which I found interesting. And to some extent, I was thinking to which extent that is something that could help increasing the number of leniency applications, and at the same time, to which extent the parties would feel comfortable. I mean, I think one thing that is very important in leniency applications is to have the chance to have an initial conversation with the authority, have a feeling of whether the information is enough and this type of thing. So I think it's, but at the same time, I think it's a great initiative. So maybe you would like to comment a little bit more on that. And also in relation to your last comment, regarding interaction with other authorities. We are aware that CADE has been working a lot with CGU, TCU, AGU, and other agencies, also with the federal prosecutors. And so maybe you want to spend a minute or two as well sharing where you are, because we also know that that could be one of the points that could be something that fosters or that to some extent prevents leniency given the effects to other authorities. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Barbara. Nice to see you. You also have, I don't see you for a long time, actually.
Yeah.
You and Mariana. I don't know what's going on. You don't like CADE anymore.
We just some videos. We have to go back. Yeah.
Good. So good question. I mean, I think that it was a very good initiative, can make things easy. And this is one of the good things from that came from the pandemic. We realized that we could do lenience online, but at the beginning it was very hard because we're not used to do that because of the restrictions and about the documents and how to talk to the lawyers, and we're like kind of not confident if it could not be so restricted and other people could know what's going on, and the data could be released, and hackers are like watching our meetings, and all those things was like passing through our minds at the beginning of the pandemic. So, but we developed some kind of IT tech security to and help us to do the lenience online. But nothing of that substitute, I think, a good conversation, as you told us. If we're talking about lenience, we have to, first of all, is we have to trust at the agents, and also agents has to trust the lawyers. This is the first step. And many of this confidence start with the first conversation. When they're showing the evidence and you start to think about the case and see if you do or not have a case. And I think that in my experience, when the part that the beneficiary of the lenience, or the people that are coming to trying to sign a lenience, when they feel this and see that they can informally talk to the agency, and even if we don't sign the lenience, we're not going to use the documents, and they're not going to have any harm. And I think that this raised the bar of the program, and we can take advantage of that and bring more people in. This is, I think, is the first question. And the second, we are spending a lot of energy in a good relation with other institutions here in Brazil, not just because of lenience, but also sharing data, exchange tools of investigation. And this happens with CGU, TCU, also the general attorney, the prosecutors, and CADE have been doing this kind of job for the past 7 years, and is increasing more and more. We have a settlement agreement, a MOU actually, with all the federal and the state prosecutors in Brazil. It means 28 MOUs, and also we're doing with all the control office and compliance office in the country. I'm talking about CGU, and I'm talking about the general control of states as well. The account tribunals, and also we're starting a relation with the judiciary. It means we are doing more events. We are trying to explain more about competition, economic tools, in order for them understand a little bit more of our job here. I think this is a way to do it. We have to get close to these people, because everyone has its roles, but there is a gray area, and this gray area always appear conflict. And if you have a good relation with them, it's much more easy to solve this kind of conflicts.
Thank you very much, Alexandre.
Thank you, Alex. I have a follow-up question based on also on Paulo's question and your answer to Paulo's question. Do you think you mentioned that the international bar should help foster different leniency programs in other jurisdictions to help the development of leniency? Do you think that that the proliferation of leniency programs could also be a reason for the reduction of cases, given the increased complexity that a company has to face in order to determine how many jurisdictions, where to file for leniency, and what are the consequences of filing only for a few and not for the rest? Could that be also, in your view, a reason for this reduction of leniency cases in international cases?
Yeah, look, there is an idea in some countries to do a one-stop shop. Okay. You don't have to have like many programs and go to every jurisdiction and do different leniencies. This costs a lot. Is also a problem, but it's not this what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you build a good leniency program in a country, what I'm saying, you create a good investigative technique, a very good investigation tool. That's what I'm saying. Nobody can, say something different. Cartels investigations are dependent of leniency at some point. It's not like a homicide that you kill someone, you have to hide the body, you have to do something with the blood, you have the gun. It's more evidence. Cartel, corruption, this kind of crime or unlawful conduct, it's conduct that you don't see much evidence, just economics in some place, but it's very hard to go into the end. And you need the leniency. You need someone that was part of the group. What I'm saying is, if you give incentives to countries, have leniency programs, I'm not saying that everybody has to go there in different countries to do the leniency. What I'm saying is, the people see that that country have a good program, they can get close to them and catch them. So, if you increase the leniency, if you increase the investigation, give them more tools, and if you're talking about international cartels, and whatever country it is, Korean, find an international cartel that can cause harm to Brazil, and this became public, I'm gonna do my international cooperation and call the Korean and say, okay, I just know that you have a cartel that I am interested to, because the people are exporting things to me. But if they don't have the leniency program over there, maybe this cartel will never be discovered. That's the thing where I'm saying. It's not about the one-stop shop, or it's not about reducing cost, about leniency. It's about raise the investigation tools. And if you have a good leniency program, good incentives for that, I'm sure that we will see more international cartels.
Great. Anyone else have any questions? Well, thank you, Alexander. Your final words.
So I just want to thank you, Julian. It's a pleasure to be here. This Fórum de la Competencia is very important. I have seen great people coming in, and for me, it's an honor to be invited and speak a little bit of CADE, because I have been in CADE for the past 7 years, doing this for a long time. And for me, it's very important to show good things that we're doing, also talk to experienced people to learn a little bit more and bring good practice to CADE and see and discuss about the future of antitrust. So for me, it's a great pleasure. And one more time, thank you very much. And thank you also for the audience.
Great, thank you, Alex. Just a couple of notes with regard to ForoCompetencia. On Friday, November the 12th, we're going to have our biennial colloquium. This time, since there is, we are going to do it online, we're going to have one panel, but an important one on the goals of competition law. The main speaker will be Professor David Gerber, and the commentators will be Jose Tabara from Peru and Lucia Ojeda from Mexico, and the moderator will be Felipe Larrazabal from Chile. And in November as well, we have our monthly breakfast, and the guest speaker will be Professor Eleanor Fox. So I'll send you the information shortly. Thank you very much, Alex, once again, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Thanks, Alexandre. Good to see you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.